G'day. Today we're doing a service on an FJ Cruiser 2011 model, and we're also going to put a transmission oil cooler on it. Now while you've got it up, good idea to just check everything underneath, even check your diff fluid levels, transfer case, universal joints, anything that might have gone amiss. And these are very similar to the A340 series transmissions, except there's no filler tube or dipstick on it. They've got the little tube in the pan there. There's a little pipe about yay high, and what you do is you fill the oil in there, and the oil sort of overflows over that tube when it's at a set temperature. You can drain the oil out of the drain plug, out of these. And we've also got to take off this big stone guard to get access to the transmission cooling lines. So we're going to fit a cooler on it. You'll get a little air lock in the filter there, so just be aware of that, especially if you're taking it off if the transmission's a bit hot. There we go. Now's a good time to just have a look at those solenoids, make sure no wires are rubbing on anything and the connections are good. And over here you'll notice there's a little stepped part. That's your pressure regulator valve. It's set on the middle one there. If you want it to come out a bit more and have a little bit less pressure, you'd put it on this one so it can actually come out. Or you could put it on this one to push it in a little bit more and get a little bit more pressure. We'll probably do that on this one because it just seems to be shifting a little bit softly, just to increase the pressure in the transmission. It'll all operate a little bit better. Now we just push this in like that, and there's a little pin there. That pin could drop out. What I do is I just hold that little pin up with another screwdriver just so it doesn't fall out, and I'm just going to wind it around like that, and that's pushing that valve in or putting more tension on that spring. You can see that's located in nicely. You could put it up here because I don't think that would wriggle off very easily, but there's nothing to hold it in, and I'm not sure how much more pressure that would create anyway. This will create a little bit more pressure there. So if you wanted to back it off, you'd put it on this slot over here. Now this transmission broke two of these hand bolts, because what happens, they get a little bit of road water above the thread there, and they get seized up when you're taking them off. You've got to take them off very slowly or you'll break them. He did, I believe, try and take it off when there was a little bit of resistance, and this one over here is broken too. So we're going to have to drill those out and re-tap them. If we don't manage to get them out, then we're just going to have to drill that right out and just put a nut and bolt on it. The ones on the side, you can put a nut on top of the pan rail there. The front and the rear ones, over here and over here, they weren't seized up anyway because no water can get in there. But if you had to do that, you'd probably just have to tap it out to the next size. You always make sure you try and get it dead center, or as close as its center as you can. And you always want to sharpen that as sharp as you can. When you get it going, just have a look, and you can sort of actually push the hole left or right, or adjust it to the middle if you can. If you just go whack straight away, then you can't sort of guide it into the center of the hole, if that makes sense. Now I've got this hole a little bit to the left, So I've got a small drill bit here, and I'm just going to sort of try and maneuver the hole to the middle where I want it. Try and get it as central as I can. Make sure you're wearing protective goggles as well. And that's pretty central there. Going a little bit out. Just going the next size up. The idea is if you go too big too soon, you can't sort of fix the hole to be in the center position of that bolt. So we're just going to go the next size up, and you can see how I always bend it so it drills to the middle of the hole if we can. I don't want to damage the case if we don't have to. And always handy to have a set of left-hand drill bits. You can see that the spiral, it goes the other way, and I'm getting closer. I've got a 6mm thread and I've got a 4mm drill. I'm just going to try and get it, and hopefully if I'm central enough I'm not going to damage the case, and it might be enough to actually undo the bolt or weaken that thread. It's grabbed on something there, and it's stuck. There we go. You zoom in on that, you can see it's actually grabbed the thread and wound it out. And look at that. Almost perfect. Lucky with that one. And we've managed to tap that one out. You can see a little thread in there, and that's the one that we had the luck with. So make sure you blow off any swarf that might have landed there. Always blow it from the inside out, so you're not blowing it into the transmission, you're blowing it out. When you're putting the filter on, make sure you put that O-ring on. It's very easy to forget. Now we've got the pan all nice and clean, and we're adding some of this shutter eliminator in there. We've just chopped it out to try and get the maximum amount out of there. Or Lube Guard make a similar sort of product. And it's a good idea to leave the magnets up on the little step there, or on the ridge, just so they're working top and bottom. More surface area of the magnet exposed to the oil, they'll work better. And you can see the little filler tube there that measures the height of the transmission fluid. Alright, pan's back on. We're not going to fill it yet until we put the transmission oil cooler on. To fill it, there's a little filler plug there where my finger is, on the right hand side, probably about halfway up the transmission. And the idea is to fill through there, get it to testing temperature, and you take this plug out and you want to have it just trickling out that tube there. So what we're going to do, we're going to disconnect these cooling lines here, probably over here at the back there, and we're going to run a couple of hoses to the front of the air conditioning condenser and fit a transmission oil cooler. Now you can see those black hoses down there, and I've ran them through there under that, I think that's the auxiliary battery. Now you can see there's not a lot of room there, but it's a good idea to have the cooler separated from the air conditioning condenser so you can get airflow around it. So you need to make up some brackets. In the old days they used to just put a plastic strip straight through the condenser or the radiator, and they would wriggle over a period of time, and the strip would actually put a hole in your condenser or your radiator, or both. Sometimes they went through both. So you can see his winch there as well. We've got to work around all that. And another thing to do, sometimes they have an ambient air temperature sensor in here. You want to have that away from the cooler as well, because it'll be measuring the heat coming off the cooler. You can see just up there, I've completely bypassed the radiator, so there's no chance of getting any coolant in the transmission now. And what I've done is I've just made a loop there. You can see they're the two pipes that go into the radiator. I've just looped them. That way, just in case anything happens while he's four-wheel driving and that cooler gets damaged or anything, he can reconnect that radiator cooler back to the transmission. And it's hard to see, but you can see the transmission oil cooler through there. And there, we've mounted it there. Just make sure your hoses don't have a sharp bend in them or kinks, especially when it warms up. And also where you've ran the hoses through here, make sure that they're not going to rub on anything or wriggle loose. Another thing you can do is take those speed sensors out and just clean them up. Quite often they'll have little bits of metal stuck on them as well. And you've got one on the front, the input speed sensor, and one at the back, the output speed sensor. And we're on the Tritech website. We're on the FJ Cruiser A750R. And with their products, I recommend the full synthetic LV, which is a low viscosity fluid. Or you can also use the Max Trans Multi-Trans, which is a full synthetic fluid. So either. Now you can loosen this one, just so later it's easier to get off. And we're going to fill it through that plug there. We'll put about 3.5 litres in, start it up, go through the gears. Handbrake on hard. Still cold, so you're going to expect it to be a little bit below the level mark anyway until the oil warms up and expands. We've got 4 litres in there now. There we go. 4 litres is probably a bit too much. Still hasn't warmed up. We're on about 28 degrees, and there's the manual there. You can see, get it between 46 and 56 degrees. Try and get it to about 50, which would be mid-range. It's important to not overfill it. Taking a bit to warm up. We got 47 at the back and 40 at the front, so we're on basically about 45 in the middle, which is an average, and you just want it just trickling out of there. Anyway, going to take it out for a run, make sure we haven't got any oil leaks, just double check the cooler and all the brackets that they're not flopping around anywhere. Hope that information has helped. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Any bits of advice or information, leave it in the comments below. That'd be handy for everyone. And throw us a beer if any of this information has helped you or saved you any money. Thank you for watching.